The man who chases two rabbits catches none. Chinese proverbs. And that is something that I have been keeping. That's a lesson I keep on having to learn the hard way over and over and over and over again, until eventually I decided that I am no longer accepting this. I'm no longer going to be the fool who is chasing two rabbits. Yet so many times when I talk to my entrepreneur friends, that's exactly what they're all doing. And a lot of them aren't getting the levels that they want to truly succeed because they're not doing that. For example, I got a buddy, the richest guy I know. I believe he runs a $100 million company. And for him, guess what? He only does one thing. Everything that he does is for his main business. And I'm not even going to say what it is because chances are you guys probably know what it is. Well, long story short, my buddy that's doing that, he's only doing one thing. And then when I look at all my other friends that aren't nearly as successful at that level, but they are still very successful, they're still in the 1% when it comes to income earners. Because put into perspective, if you're making $600K a year, you're in the 1%. So I have friends that are doing that too. And when I notice they all are only doing one thing, like they do nothing else but that thing. From the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, they just spend all their time and energy on that one thing. And then, yet, what I found myself doing over and over and over again, and I'm actually making this video for myself as a reminder, because I almost made this mistake again. So this is pretty much my track record. So, opened up my first ever business, I believe when I was 13. I made a video called How I Lost $1 Million. And basically what that video was about is all the time and energy and money I've spent on all these other things, that if I would have just put all that time, money, energy into the first business I ever made when I was 13, I would have been a multimillionaire by now. And I know that sounds, to so many people that sounds impossible, but you guys have no idea how much time and effort I spend putting into this stuff. This YouTube stuff is just for fun. But I digress. But with that being said, my point is, yet, even though I knew that, I had to keep on learning the lesson over and over again. Like, I can't even keep track of all the things I've tried. I've tried affiliate marketing, Amazon arbitrage, drop shipping, having a carpet cleaning business, having, dude, I've done so many things I honestly can't keep track. Doing solar, all these different things. Now, I won't lie, certain things they're all similar because the skills are the same. So for example, in carpet cleaning, I had to learn how to make advertising. I had to learn how to create landing pages. I had to know how to deliver products. I had to know how to nurture clients. All that stuff also applied to solar. So that's good. I mean, direct sales is direct sales. That is a core skill which will apply to any business I do. So they were different, but they were similar. So it's kind of okay. But my main point is, even when it comes to like my carpet cleaning business, most successful business I ever had, except for what happened was I got severely hurt, so I couldn't work on the business. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out some other way to make money, and that's why I ended up getting the drop shipping. And then I spent thousands of dollars on the ads, and I literally found winning products. But what I would do is, instead of even the rule of one, I like to call it, even applies to, for example, a business like drop shipping, because basically so many times I would get sales for products proving that, okay, people will buy this. But instead of realizing, okay, this is a winning product, I would just give up on it because the ad wouldn't be crushing it from day one. But what I learned is, what it's really about is you have to find one product, and then from there, you just continue to improve the ads, because the reality is most of these products can dominate. What I learned is the only thing that matters is good marketing. But it's all about putting all your time and energy into one thing. And my point is, this kind of applies also to wrestling. Because basically my whole life, I kind of was like a jack of all trades, master of none. When I was younger, I tried all these different sports, and I was never really good at any of them. But then what I learned is, eventually, this is what I will say, is after trying all these sports, I finally got into wrestling, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And guess what I did? I put all my time and energy into wrestling, and before I ended up tearing my meniscus, I was one of the best wrestlers in the state. Now, I never had to perform on the state level because it's a conversation for a different day. But long story short, went to a wrestling camp, beat a couple state champions. That's besides the point. The only thing that matters is the results, right? So unfortunately, I hurt myself, wasn't able to get those, but that's besides the point. So, point is, I became one of the best people. And then from there, that taught me, really what wrestling taught me is, because this is the funny thing. When I first got into wrestling, I absolutely was horrible. Trash. Sucked. For, I would say, until about my last 2 years. That's when I got really good. And what that shows me is, it's if you just stick with something, you're going to get better. And even if you look at almost every single pro athlete, they all almost have the same exact story. They started getting the XYZ sport when they're, like 6, 7, 5, 8. They're very young. And then from there, their entire lives, they only played that one sport their entire lives. And also at the same time, playing the sport isn't good enough. They're also learning from people that are better than them, so they can improve their skill set. They're going to places like camps, and things like that. They're going against kids that are better than them. And that forces them to level up. It's the same exact thing that applies in business. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because recently I caught myself, and I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, oh man, I think I'm gonna reopen the cleaning business. And then I had to stop myself. I'm like, Aaron, no, you're not gonna do that. Because this is what I find myself doing every time. I've made money with literally every single business I've ever done. And I would say as I become older, every single business I have opened has been profitable. So what that shows me is, like when I first started, I wasn't profitable because I didn't know shit. But obviously, the better you get, the more money you're gonna make. But just basically, I'm at the point now where literally pretty much every single business I've opened now at this point has become profitable. Yet I keep on going from thing to thing because this will happen. I'll become good enough at something in order to make money. Then what I'll do is I'll be like, oh my God, this isn't making me the kind of money I want to make. And then I'll just go to something else. So what happens is, essentially, this is me. I have a problem. Problem is no sales. Get sales. Then the new problem is, okay, how do I scale? And I can't figure out how to scale. So instead of trying to figure out how to scale, I just start a new business. And I've been on this death wheel forever. And then even the other day, I caught myself. I was like, man, I'm in trading. I'm not making the kind of money I want to make. I'm like, I'm still going to trade, but let me just divide my attention and try to chase 2 rabbits at once. Let me try to build a cleaning business, rebuild a cleaning business, and at the same time, also, half-ass put my energy into trading. And then I stopped myself. And then I caught myself for a whole day. I spent literally like 6 hours on building an entire ad campaign. And I'm telling you, this thing was going to crush. But then after I had to stop myself, I'm like, Aaron, okay, but how much time? You just spent 6 hours on the freaking ad. How long is it going to take you to do customer fulfillment? And I was like, Jesus, I didn't even think about that. I was like, bro, you're digging yourself in a hole. It's like, dude, this is me talking to myself. I'm like, how many times do you have to learn this lesson the hard way? The reason why you're not where you want to be is because every time you're about to get to where you want to be, instead of just fixing that problem, you go to another business. How many fucking times are you going to make this same mistake? And I'm not trying to be aggressive, but I'm saying this because I have to get this ingrained in myself. I'm mainly making this video for myself because I'm sick of learning this lesson the hard way. You spend thousands of dollars trying to learn how to do something. From there, you then learn how to do it. You then start to make money. And then you might break even, you might not break even. But before you can even give yourself enough time to take off, you go to something else. And this is what I found, okay? This is what have been the best mental shifts, best mental frames I've ever had for myself. And that is I asked myself this. If I did this for my entire life, would it be reasonable for me to fail? And the answer is no. Guys, if you look at, this is insane. If you look at almost every single company on the Fortune 500, so the Fortune 500 are the 500 richest companies in the world. Now, almost all of those companies have been around for 100 plus years. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells me that business is less about being good and more about just being around for a really long time. Because guys, I'm sure we've all been in these little mom and pop shops that have been around for like 70 to 100 plus years, and they really suck. But just since they've been around for so long, they make money. And that's my thing. And even if we just look at, what's the word? I feel like even if we just for example, just look at that. What that really tells me is if you can just stick around, if you can just stick to doing the one thing over a long period of time, you cannot fail. That's been my biggest mental frame, is whenever I think about, quitting something or doing something else, I just have to ask myself, okay, Aaron, I like to think in 10-year intervals. I'm like, okay, well, if I did this for 10 years, would it be reasonable for me to fail? And the answer is no. The answer is no almost every single time. And if the answer is maybe, then I will not do that thing. But the reality is, if there are people in your arena doing the thing that you want to do, make money doing, and there are people doing it, that is proof that it can be done. Now, the real thing is, it's probably gonna be a lot harder than what you think it is. And that's another thing. That's also another reason why I stop myself, because every single time I find myself going to a different thing. You know, Sigmund Freud basically said humans are always moving away from pain or towards pleasure. So what will happen many times is we will be in so much pain in our situation with the business that we're trying to make work. So what we'll see is we'll then see this thing that appears to be easier, right? But what happens to me every single time, like clockwork, is that thing that always appeared to be easier. Guess what? It's actually 10 times harder than what you were doing originally. And the reason for that is because you spent all your time and energy getting good at this thing. So whenever you go to a different business, you're starting from square one. And this is the thing people don't think about. In life, the amount of the resources we have are finite. Like, your time and energy is finite. If you're like most people and you're trying to build a business, you're still gonna be working your career. So you're gonna be working 40 hours a week at your job, and then from there you're gonna be trying to take care of your family. So realistically, you're only gonna have 3 to 4 hours a day, maybe max, to work on your business. So if you're spending that 3 to 4 hours over years, and you're just jumping from thing to thing to thing, you're never gonna get to where you want to go, because you just don't have enough time doing the thing. So my only point is, my friend, remember this. If you take nothing from this video, just remember this Chinese proverb: the man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. Stop chasing 2 rabbits. There's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell, basically about the 10,000 hour rule, which basically says if you put 10,000 hours into something, you're going to become a master. Now, if you put 10,000 hours into something, you're literally gonna be better than almost everybody. Matter of fact, you will be better than everybody that you know personally. So just whenever I'm in doubt, I just try to remember that. Well, I also have a tracker. I track how much time I put in this, because many times we can feel discouraged because we feel like we put in so much effort. But the funny thing is about humans is, and that is, we tend to over-exaggerate. So when you take a look at your tracker, you can see, okay, well, I thought that I put in 1,000 hours in this thing. I actually only put in 300. So is it, reasonable that I'm having these problems? Yes. So my friend, just remember this. Do not chase 2 rabbits. Stick with it until it works. If anything, hire someone to help you get past this roadblock, and that's it. Good luck.